Hey Dilly Boppers, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm here tonight with my friend and local black activist and womanist Haley Morrissette. She's also a member of our feminist society. You can see her in a couple of other videos on my channel. She was in the Vagina Monologues with us notably, and she's asked questions at several of the trans panels. So if you saw my video earlier today, I am really fucking pissed about the state of anti-blackness in America, and I have been for a long time. But it's just, it's so difficult trying to say something about it as someone who is not black and who only, has to see the people who I love who are black going through it, because I don't want to speak over those voices, and I don't want to go off that struggle, or basically really end up being a shitty ally. So, what I decided to do this morning was to basically reach out to the black people in my life who are, especially those of which who are activists, and basically try to use my channel and the platform I have here to give them a space to speak, because I feel like that is just basically the decent human thing to do if you are a person who has the privilege of not being black and you care about black people, is to do everything you can to lift up their marginalized voices, just like I would hope, a cis ally would do for a trans person's voice. So once again, this is Haley Morrissette. And Haley, I want to thank you so much for coming and doing this, and also for providing the hashtag that we're using, which is YouTube Blackout. So it's hashtag YouTube Blackout, and spread that like wildfire, because we're going to be doing this every day for the next few days. And Thursday, we will gather everyone we can who has had the opportunity to speak with us to all speak. Um, and, we want to encourage other non-black YouTubers who have that privilege of not being black and who have that platform of having a YouTube channel with viewers to basically turn that platform over to the black people in their lives that they love, to basically just make a united stand in saying that we are not okay with the way things are right now, without speaking over the voices that actually need to be heard. So thank you again so much for being here. You are just, you already know this, but I'm going to say again, which I say to Haley often, that you are the epitome of black girl magic in every way, shape, and form. And I will be, like I said earlier, I will be taking questions in the chat that are like legit good questions to pass on to Haley when we're done with all this. But for now, I'm going to shut my mouth. And all of y'all are going to give Haley every bit as much respect and attention as you would give me, if not more, because things are shit right now for black people in this country, and she's the person you need to listen to.
Thank you so much, Delia. Y'all, it really warms my heart to know that we have people out here that are listening. At least somebody is listening, because it gets hectic. So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Haley, and I am a queer black woman. And life is tough at the intersections, first of all the different ways that I am interlinked on my different identities. It's hard, it's rough. But most importantly right now, it's rough being a black person. It's rough seeing people that look like me or a part of my family. I'm currently married to a man. I plan to be married to him for a while. But yeah, like it's hard to see black men with families being killed and not worry about my own. It's hard to see people that are black with mental health issues like myself that are getting killed. It's just hard, and it takes its toll. And this week alone has been hard. These past 3 years or so have been hard, if I can be honest. But it's something that we work through, and we're doing. And we're not getting a chance to grieve or to stop and breathe before something else happens. Because as soon as it feels like we've gotten to a spot where we're good and we're going to be able to be happy and love on one another, and finally we think we're being portrayed the way we need to be, then somebody else is killed. And it's so layered, and there's so much to it that we don't even fully know how to get out of this web that is white supremacy. Like this tangle, there's just so much of it that has to be pulled apart in order for all of us to be fully equal, to have equality, and to not say we're going to have one oppressor over the other. Black Lives Matter doesn't mean that we want to be more important than everybody else. We just want to matter like everybody else. I listened to a video today that a British guy, which was a little odd, said that Black Lives Matter was hurting the black community more because it was lying to us. And it was saying that, he was saying race isn't an issue with police brutality. But race is an issue because of the white people that are killed by police, how many of them get justice as opposed to the ones who are getting let off that are killing black people? They're waiting 30 days to question the people who just killed Alton Sterling. Reagan Gomez just pinned the hashtag, what can you do in 30 days? I'm sorry, that was not Reagan Gomez. That was Anika Noni Rose, otherwise known as Princess Tiana. But it's just like, what can you do in 30 days? Who else has committed a crime and they get 30 days to kind of think of their alibi before they get questioned? How come my life doesn't have enough bearing to say that we're going to question you as soon as things happen? We're going to go ahead and press forward. I understand due process, but, bruh, this ain't just due process. This is, I'm going to wait and I'm going to make sure it's on your side. And that's exactly how the justice system fits. Justice system can be a joke for us. Look at how many of us are locked up. You can look up the stats yourself, but it is ridiculous. Black people make up 13% of the population. Well, we overrun the prisons. Us and our Latinx counterparts. Not to mention Afro-Latinos and Tinas.
It's very important for that intersection.
Yes.
I didn't want to say
No,
anything during the video, but
yeah.
I was just going to say we've got a couple of comments in the chat that they can hear you, but you're coming in a little quiet, so if you're able to speak up any bit.
Can y'all hear me now? Say yeah. I mean,
I think they'll be fine. Just projecting.
So, but yes, those intersections are very important because I'm having this issue currently is with other people of color sometimes. Anti-blackness runs deep, not with just white people. It runs deep in other people of color spaces and in black spaces a lot of times because of respectability politics. We're not allowed to be that kind of black person, which is the kind that I am. Ratchet as hell. Like, we need to have the space to let us just be free and be whoever we're going to be without being worried about if we fit into those stereotypes. If I do fit into a stereotype, that doesn't mean I'm any less human. And that's just an issue that we have. In the people of color communities, we are also part of those other communities. Like, there's a layer, there's an overlay for all of those. For instance, even when we talk about the Muslim community, every time they talk about the Muslim community, they want to set it apart from the black community. But you can't set it apart. In America, I want to say about 40% of Muslims in America are black. They're going to be the ones on the front that's actually going to be facing a lot of that Islamophobia. So at the end of the day, we all out here with y'all. I understand we have a lot of visibility than a lot of other people of color groups, but our visibility is because so many of us were stolen, and so many of us were, put into society, and when we tear shit up, that's when we get a lot of attention. I hate that that's the way that it is, but that's just the way that it is. That's the only time that they really pay attention to us, is when we go tearing shit up. And I can't necessarily get mad at the people who do it, because I understand that anger that we get all the time. Recently, all I did this week was go through my Facebook timeline and see people that I am close with, that I went to high school with, had to drop their facades and just be like, they're hurting. They're done. They're done with America. They wish America loved them as much as we loved America. People that are in the military, people that are police themselves, people that are politicians, people that work in our education system, people that take care of all of y'all kids, your elders. They want to be loved. They want their life to matter. And they're tired of, they hear your silence. They hear it when non-black people have nothing to say when we're crying, when we're upset and we're hurt. But then when you speak up, when we retaliate in any type of way, that's not fair. It's not fair to tell the oppressed that they have no reason to be angry when you are visibly seeing what's going on with them every day. So, with that, I decided to launch a safe haven for other black folks. And it started off for just black folks in Pensacola, but eventually the safe haven is going to open up nationally, because some of the other members say that they feel like all black folks need this. And it's really for our own mental health and a support space, because we don't have safe spaces. A lot of us are even scared. I'm scared to go into spaces where there's a lot of black people. Hell, thanks to Pulse, where there's a lot of queer people in one space. I'm scared to be with my own at this point in life. And the safe haven was so that there can be black people together to love on one another, because all we hear about in the media is how divided black people are, and we're this and we're that, but we're none of those things. We're actually a really totally different ball game than a lot of people think we are. And we're diverse. We come in all shades, shapes, and sizes. And we just want America to love us the way we love America. I mean, we built America. Why the hell not? I'm just saying, it's just, our mental health matters to me. I'm currently wanting to be a social worker, eventually be a licensed clinical social worker in the next few years. And I really, really care about making sure people are mentally healthy, especially black folks, because if you look at the numbers, it's not a big deal in the black community, or we don't get what we need, which is why I advocate for more black mental health workers. Actually, more people of color mental health workers, because we just need it. We need more of all of us out there. We need diversity in that section of the world, because it's so important. It's so many more of us that need the help that we need. We need people who are able to do the work, but we need somebody to be able to heal the healers. You know what I mean? So, were there any questions thus far?
Yeah, not in the chat per se, but I'm gonna go ahead and remind everyone that we are open for your questions. And I guess I do have a couple of questions. I mean, you just like you always do, you nailed everything just kind of so thoroughly. And everything you have to say is just so poignant, and you made me start to cry. And it's like, you know, I feel like there's a point where I'm never going to know what it's like, and it's not at all the same thing. But um, that minority stress of having to watch your Facebook feed every day and wonder when the next one is going to come. Um, wonder when it might end up being you. Wondering when you're going to be the next hashtag. I feel is something that for different reasons a trans person can very much relate to, and a lot of trans people are black. Hell, most of the not all, but most of the transgender murder victims that we have in the United States
Yes.
are black. Like I want to say 2/3 are black,
Yes.
and then the other third is mostly Latinx. With I think there was maybe one white trans woman.
Last year, I think it might have been 2.
Last year, 1 or 2. But so that those intersections are so important, and remembering that it's like I really feel like and you always do such a wonderful job of being intersectional, which I feel like you can't help being
Yeah.
being a queer black woman to be intersectional. But I guess I don't want to pry too much or open too much up for you, but I really feel that people need to know and understand what that minority stress is like, having to see that every day, because a lot of people have been faithfully reblogging and sharing everything, and then it's like now it's getting to the point where people are just, black people have been faithfully reblogging and sharing, it seems like, for the most part. But it seems like now a lot of people are understandably reaching a point where it's just like where there's just nothing more that can be done without that self-care. So I guess I want to ask you to kind of explain for everyone what that minority stress is like, and what your advice is for black people who are trying to cope with that minority stress, when it's one of those things where it's like, and once again, as a trans person who sees my sisters dying in social media all the time, knowing that's my battle, that's my life. It's like I have to keep fighting. I have to keep seeing it. I have to keep making everyone see it. But it gets so rough, and I can only imagine what that must be like for a black person. So just what that stress is like, and what your advice is for black people trying to cope with that.
First of all, if you are sharing dead black bodies on the internet, please stop. Because when you have friends who are black that have to see these pictures just pop up, I by accident watched the Alton Sterling video. It automatically started, and all I saw was somebody holding down somebody, and I was like, oh, they're being really rough with that guy. Like, that's horrible. And then it happened. And dealing with that, I already suffer from anxiety. Like, just gonna put it all out there. That's one of my things. So for me, I feel like it's compounded just a tad bit. Well, actually, a lot. It's almost like, or it is like being someone with post-traumatic stress. Because you're constantly worrying about being the next one. You're constantly worrying about your family being the next people. And then if you're outspoken like me, you're constantly worrying that they might be watching you. And I do worry sometimes that maybe if I do get pulled over, if my husband gets pulled over, that maybe he was targeted. And having that type of stress can really exhaust you. And I tell people all the time to be gentle with themselves. Log off if you have to. Take your Facebook take it off of that main screen, because all of us got it on the main screen of our phone, so that you don't see those numbers pop up, and just take time for you. I personally, I meditate. A lot of black folks, Christians, they probably will pray instead of meditate. I hang out with the ancestors in my backyard. I talk to whoever is in the universe listening to me, and I still my body and listen. Because not only on the level of knowing that you could possibly be the next victim of police brutality or murder of police, you have to deal with all the other layers of oppression that you have to deal with, such as being able to hold a job, poverty in the black community. Things like that, like you have your own personal stressors that you have to deal with, and then on top of that, deal with what's going on in the nation. And that's a lot. So sometimes you got to turn it off, and you have to care for yourself. And going back to my little network of my support group, basically, I'll say, sometimes you got to find those other people to know you're not alone. And it's the same thing with any other type of stress that you go through, or disorders, or needing support from any type of traumas, because, we have vicarious trauma. It's a very real thing. It makes you cry every day. It makes you sweat at night and have night terrors. It makes you stay up all night and shake and wonder what's going to happen to your sons or daughters, or just children if your kids are not minor. But it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with, but you got to try to find your inner calm if you can, or you have to try to find that outlet. When I'm angry, I'm angry. I let myself feel. And that's the thing. Black folks, we don't get a chance to feel, and we don't get a chance to heal. We don't get those two things. If we feel too much, then they say we're being irrational, too emotional. We have no reason to be overreacting. If we try to take a chance to heal, they say we need to get back to work. We got to make sure that things change, and we have to be the ones to do it. But we didn't set this up in the first place. This shame isn't our shame. This shame is white supremacy shame. It's not all white people, get me right, but they benefit, and they have to do work like we have to do work. Whatever work we do, they should be the ones doing it 10 times harder. So if sometimes you have to stop and you have to tell people, I can't argue with you about all lives matter and explain to you why this, and that, what you're saying is wrong. I can't tell you why me arguing my humanity to you is a bad thing. If you got to step off and just say, okay, then that's you. That makes you strong. It doesn't make you weak. Any other questions?
Yes. Real quick, I just want to remark on the importance of what you just had to say with regards to just the fact that it is not the burden of the oppressed to change society to the better. It is the burden of the oppressor to make that change, because it is the oppressor who is responsible for that burden. It is not any oppressed or marginalized group's fault ever that they face the oppression that they do. And I'm going to extend that to the fact that, like you said, there's that stereotype, especially as a black woman, of the angry black woman. Mm-hmm. And it's like, fuck that shit. First off, you've got every right to be angry.
Hey.
And then second off, it doesn't matter how angry an oppressed person is. They have the right to be angry, and that anger could never justify the oppression that they face, or someone's decision to continue to remain complicit or even willfully oppressive. So that whole excuse needs to end. And just, how important it is to remember that it is not, just like it is not the job of the oppressed to end their oppression, it is not an oppressed person's job to educate you on why their humanity needs to be respected and why you should treat them like human beings,
Yes.
which unfortunately is just not happening. I've spoken before about how we we institutionalize these hatreds.
Mm-hmm.
Anti-blackness is something we are all taught from birth, from day one. Even black people
Mm-hmm.
are taught to be anti-black and to hate themselves. So it's so important before anyone ever makes the assumption, because you want to, because at some level we know that things like anti-blackness are wrong. It's not an inherent human quality. It's something we were taught. We know it's wrong, and we want to absolve ourselves of that. But you can't absolve yourself of it by deciding and saying, "I can't be racist." That's enabling. You can only absolve yourself of it by accepting that you were taught to be racist, and that you have to constantly check yourself to make sure that you're not being racist, no matter what you're doing. But the question we have is from Molly. Um, she asks, "What do you suggest for an ally to do to show support?" Which I feel is a very important question. I feel like there's a lot of allies who really are good allies, who want to show support, but who don't want to step over anyone or do the wrong thing.
Absolutely. I think my biggest thing, first of all, Delia and I already took y'all spot because she done blacked out this whole space. She got this platform, so I mean, nobody else get ally cookies. They all Delia's. I'm just kidding, y'all. Anyway, I don't give them out. I don't give out ally cookies. So, no, seriously. My biggest thing for allies to do is listen. That's one. Two, if you are uncomfortable when I say something, and when one of your cousins, auntie, uncle, daddy hop on Facebook and tell me that I'm wrong and tries to argue my humanity to me, if you are there and you witness that, as an ally, you should step in and take that over. I shouldn't have to exhaust myself to explain why I'm important. Recently, this best example I have. Recently, there was a thread. I don't know how to say this without, because I'm not trans, y'all, but this is the best example I have as of right now of what I feel like if I was trans, I would want a trans ally. So this is.
Are you going to talk about what
I'm going to talk about this. So recently, there was a friend of mine who I love to death, but had a thread, and on this thread there were people who were discussing why cis was derogatory, or how they thought it might have been. And I watched it for a few seconds. I'm lying. I watched it for a few minutes go by because I was at work. And I'm thinking that the person whose thread this is, because this person is very about practicing intersectionality and, everything, just great in theory. So I watched and I waited to see if this person was going to step in and say something. And so when nobody did, I decided to hop in and tell them they were spouting privileged bullshit. That is what I call it. And I was explaining to them why being called cis is not derogatory, and why we have identifiers, and why we should respect people for just identifying as they would like to. The person whose thread it was decided to kind of tone police me and say we shouldn't jump on people or say that it's bullshit what they're saying. But everybody knows me to not hold back when I have to say what I'm going to say. Everything I say online, I would say offline. So I explained to this person, don't tone police me. But if you're an ally and you claim and you say out loud, I'm an ally for this community, then when you see somebody like that, or you see people having a privileged ass conversation that could be hurtful to our community, I want you to step in. If you at the dinner table, Thanksgiving, and they're talking about the blacks, I expect you to step in. Yes, don't trust people who say the blacks, by the way. I expect you to step in and say, you know, this is why you're not right about that. I don't care how nice, I don't care how nasty you are. At least you said something. At least you opened their minds to something different. And don't come running to me trying to say, hey, guess what I did? Because I really don't give a damn. If you're an ally, just do what you got to do. Be a damn basic human being. That's all. But I'm sorry. Yes, that's all we ask, is that you step in. And it's just like physically, as an example, when we have protests, non-black people are asked to actually stand between the black protesters and the police lines. Because it's safer that way, if we could just be honest. If it's just black folks out there, we see another Ferguson. If we be honest. Or we see a New York. In New York, they were just spraying people because it was just black protesters. Now, if y'all sprinkle yourselves throughout, you just get hit with whatever you get hit with, and they say they was trying to do it to the black folks. But if you set up that line and that barrier, that's you using your privilege. That's the best way I can say. That's what I expect you to listen, and I expect you to go ahead and get uncomfortable when you have to be, to correct your fellow privileged folks.
That's a huge part of recognizing your privilege, because one portion of white privilege, or even in some cases, I'd say more so white privilege, but in some cases even just non-black privilege, is that the police are not as likely to harm you. Period. For anything, as they are to harm a black person simply for existing and being black. So it's easy. I think it's easy a lot of times for allies to be scared a lot of times when they're at protests. But what you need to remember is that you're not the one who needs to be afraid, because there are a ton of black people out there, and the police are paying way more attention to them than they are to you, and they're way more likely to do something to them than they are to you. Like, they're probably not even going to touch you. That's the entire purpose. If you're there in that wall in between, nothing's going to happen. More than likely. There's got to be a disclaimer with that. I feel,
I'm sure there's some officers who really don't give a damn.
Yeah, and something could happen, but the likelihood is just so minuscule, and if anything did happen, what it would be so much less severe. You'd be more likely to be like pepper sprayed or something.
And honestly, the media shows up more for things like that when it's more diverse. So they don't really act a fool with the people around, for the most part. We did see some things in our time, but y'all know what I mean.
Would you say also when you're out there at a Black Lives Matter protest and you're not black, you're more likely to be questioned by media?
Yeah, absolutely.
Than a black person is, but the black voices are the ones that need to be heard. So I would say direct someone, if you're out there for a Black Lives Matter protest and the media approaches you and you're not black, direct them to a black person.
The first rally I organized in Pensacola, from Pensacola, by the way. Hey, you guys, I love y'all. I faced a lot of barriers with, it was such a diverse turnout of people that wanted to be a part, and they were so driven, and I was so excited that Pensacola had so many people, because Pensacola, y'all, I love it. Yeah, it's just, for a black person in Pensacola, it's just, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's the South. But I was so excited to see such a diverse response. But one of the main things I had a lot of issues with when trying to organize was that I had a lot of white people who told me, well, why can't I speak? Why can't I be the one in front of everybody? Like, it doesn't matter. Why can't why can't I be the one to head this organizing that you're doing? Because, you know, you work and you do all this, so I can head this up, but make sure you credit me. And that's just, yeah, that was an issue to me. And when I explained it, it was, well, you're a reverse racist because you don't want white people to be a part of organizing. And if you push your allies away, and no, that's what we're not going to do. You're not an ally if something as easily as me telling you that you can't stand up on a damn pedestal means that I'm pushing you away. No, that's not how this works. You stand your ass in the back and you make sure everything goes accordingly to the way it's supposed to go. That's how it works.
You're not an ally if your allyship is conditional, period.
No, that just makes you somebody that's trying to eat off the backs of somebody that's oppressed. I've seen that. We done seen that a few times.
I probably see that all the time.
We see it all the time.
Okay, so I have a couple of other questions here. Kelly just said, "Please forgive the angry dog sound." Bailey is righteously furious. Bailey's having to hear the truth, and it's making Bailey uncomfortable with Bailey's privilege. All right, so I have a question that says, I have family members who are Midwest nice, parentheses passive aggressive, and it makes having conversations about Black Lives Matter difficult. You have experience with that or advice?
Yes, because they can get really passionate about feeling like it's an attack on their own livelihoods. I'm gonna go ahead and take a guess that these same type of people would be really upset about terrorists too. Like, usually that's like the same vein of people. Anyways, as much as I'm not this person, I would try to do it slowly. It takes kind of, when it's family, when it's people that you love, like I said, as much as I'm not this person, because my family knows that they're just getting kicked to their butt, I feel like you have to say, no, you know, sweetheart, you have to kind of shine the light back in their face on why, but you have to do it slowly. So maybe one day at the dinner table, you just have to explain one little reason. For instance, well, you know, really what they mean is Black Lives Matter too. And because you see how they leave them laying in the street, if they're upset about that. Or if they bring up, why are we rioting and destroying our own neighborhoods or destroying other people's neighborhoods, we'll say, well, they've lived in these environments for so long that wouldn't you be upset eventually if your people's blood was shed and people were more concerned about property? It's just little things like that. It's little tidbits that you can actually push into your family without you having to completely, you know, stop fucking with them. Wait, can I cuss?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you even have to ask that?
Just making sure. Well, we're live. I didn't know.
Yes.
Alright, so, yeah. Keep fucking with your family. If you want to. Like, if they're good to you. Just don't invite me to dinner. Because they ain't gonna like you no more. They might get really uncomfortable.
It is definitely, I feel like that's really good advice. It's important to remember that if you want to educate people,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you want to be effective educating people, you can't coddle them, but you got to meet them at their level of understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people, like us, are not good at that. But you know, when you're that person, that's a much easier situation to deal with. I mean, I dealt with anti-blackness with my parents a lot, which I mean, it was hell, and eventually it just got to the point where I just gave up.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it's because I couldn't meet their level.
Yeah.
We were both really reactionary with each other, so it didn't work. But that's definitely one of the situations where you gotta be able to meet people at their level. Don't coddle people,
Don't coddle them.
but
Give
meet
it to
them at
them
their level
straight.
of understanding.
Yes. Shine the light in their face. Give them a mirror and say, you know, can't you see how this is a little and then, nobody wants to be the racist at the table, honestly. That's even worse than actually doing racist things, being called one. So.
I feel like that's an important thing to remember is no one wants to be racist. They just don't understand that they are.
Mm-hmm. It's the smallest things. It's like
Oh, hold on a second.
Oh.
Let me just send it the screen back.
Can we back?
Hold on a second. Really? Well, no, I mean, we have internet, so it shouldn't be. Hold on a second.
Does it do that when it comes out? It takes kind of when it's family. Actually, push out to the family.
But when you're
Like you have to say.
I think it may. Sorry for the technical difficulty. I think it may. Yeah. It's got a delay. I think that happens every now and then. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm good.
Because I feel like you were saying something, and I don't remember what it was.
We were talking about anti-blackness.
Well, it's just got everyone, saying that the stream had died, but I think it just got delayed, so we're gonna have that whole.
Family. Don't disown your family. If you feel like
I mean, you could.
you definitely could, but don't disown them if you feel like they have a chance. Oh, we were talking about being called a racist and not wanting to be racist, and how small. Okay, here it goes. So, it's small enough, anti-blackness and microaggressions. That's a big deal. That's a big issue I deal with every day. Me and my husband and my kids, and all people of color actually all deal with microaggressions all the time. Women and just everybody. It's all intersection stuff. But my issue, I have had people ask me how to pronounce my name. Haley. It is Haley. 5 letters. Haley's comment. Hallie's comment. You can pronounce it Haley or Hallie. Why are you trying to pronounce it Hayquisha or something? Or I don't know. And there's nothing wrong with the Hayquisha because my middle name's Rashawn and I ain't with the shits. So, my thing is, it's microaggressive things like that. It's like people automatically assuming, which I'm not gonna lie, I can be mean. I can be, a little bit make you stand back, and I want people to be like that a lot of times. I got social anxiety, but it's them wondering. We good? Okay. It's them wondering, how is she so nice at work? I didn't It's people actually coming up to me after they've gotten their services at my job and saying, I did not expect you to be as nice as you are. Huh? Is that right? Like, isn't that weird? Like, would anybody ever walk up to some of y'all and say that?
People ask you that?
They say they did not expect me to be as nice as I was. It's my coworker standing at the front desk where I work with me, my white coworker, my bestie, Sam, and people automatically going to the window. She's a clinician. People going to the window that she is at because they rather talk to her first than come down and talk to the black girl who knows every fucking thing, by the way. And I'm not bragging, I'm just telling the truth. What up, Lakeview? But I'm just saying, it's the smallest things like that. It's people just completely being uncomfortable with my blackness. And I'm not trying to hide it anymore. I used to, because that's what I was taught, that was the way I would have to be able to be to succeed in life. I code switch when I got to. But I gotta unapologetically be me at this point. Because being respectable and being one certain type of black person is not going to keep me alive at the end of the day. It's not going to stop me from being discriminated against, especially when they see my middle name. It's people getting on the phone with me and hearing my voice and then seeing me in person and saying, I didn't expect you to be black. Who the fuck? What does black sound like? Huh? And it gets to me. It's microaggressive and it does get to me. And that's why mental health matters.
I'm gonna, there's other questions in here, but I'm gonna take a second to just kind of push you to expand on that if you'd like to. Because I feel like microaggressions, a lot of times, there's really nothing micro about them except for the fact that we're so blinded to them by how institutionalized things like racism are. But I feel like those are things that if someone can start to understand microaggressions, I feel like that's really helpful to kind of dismantling and realizing
Absolutely.
how anti-black you can be and have been throughout your life without even being aware of it and without wanting to, but it's the way that we were taught, which doesn't excuse it, but it helps if you can try to understand, I feel, those things. But especially I'm so sorry.
It's really like waking
You're
up
not
in an
black to me?
Octavia Butler novel all the time sometimes. But seriously, it's.
And I want to clarify, I just said that that's not me saying that, that's me expressing my incredulity at the people who say that, the whole I don't see you as black, or you're such a white black person, and all that complete and utter bullshit.
Yeah. And I never realized how much it really affected me. In middle school, I was an Oreo, because I'm Afro-punk, how I like to say. I'm a little bit more of an alternative black girl. Or that's what they would say. I just say I just do me. But being called an Oreo and kind of having this proximity to whiteness, but not being white enough to hang with the people that are into the same things as you, that fucks with you. I love the people I hang with now. Absolutely. I will go to Sluggos in a heartbeat with y'all. Y'all know I will sit and rock out. But it's even going to events sometimes here in town in Pensacola with mainly white people and being like, well, we didn't have a problem knowing you were here. You're the only black person here. Did we kind of have to bring that up? I mean, we could. Or it's me code switching and doing my bruh and Ebonics, which is I speak wonderfully. And then someone mimicking me while we're out having a beer together. I can't code switch with you no more. I have to always keep my guard up. And that's microaggression. I mean, it's the smallest little thing that feels like you're being gaslit. And one day I'm really gonna talk, like I'm really, really gonna be able to talk about after I really research it. But America gaslights the hell out of black folks. It does. It makes us think we are crazy for believing that possibly there's a system that's in place that keeps us this way, but the numbers say otherwise, and people will willfully look over those numbers and turn them into what they need to just to say, all right, black folks, y'all acting up, shut up. Like, all of you are overreacting. All 13% of you are overreacting. Okay, maybe 11% because we got like Stacey Dash in them. But, you know what I mean. Like, we're gaslit all the time, and it fucks with our heads. And I have days, as hard as I go, I have days where I sit back and I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're right. Maybe it is more of us out there that are, maybe, black on black crime, maybe that is what I should be focusing on. Maybe I shouldn't be focused on the police because they do kill other people. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm always overreacting. And that's not the case. Not 24 hours later, I realized, no, I'm not tripping because there's another hashtag of another dead black man, woman, or non-binary gender fluid person. It's just it.
I mean, you are a mental health professional, so if anyone is going to be qualified to, you are a black mental health professional. If anyone is going to be qualified to say that America is gaslighting black people, you are the person. And it's
America's
true.
gaslighting us.
It's extremely true. So I think I've got a couple other questions in here, and I got a couple of other questions for you. Okay, so just a second. All right, first off, Catherine had a question. She asks, are there any rallies, protests, events being planned? I take it in the Pensacola area that we can turn out for.
There are things in the works, but I am trying to do that whole pulling people together thing without ego trips. So once that gets planned, if y'all want to follow the Facebook page, everybody that's in Pensacola, the From Pensacola page, it will always be posted there. I will always keep that updated with any rallies or protests. But there is a protest in the works that I know of, but apparently there's paperwork, and I'm just a get up and go type of girl. Maybe y'all shouldn't quote me on that, but yeah, I gotta work some things out. But there will be stuff posted. There are things that, because we have the issue here in Pensacola. Like, I'm not even gonna play with it. So, locally there's an issue also. It's not, oh, look what's happening in these other big cities. No, we have issues all over the country, even in the smaller cities. Pensacola is not even a smaller city anymore. Like,
No, not really. And I mean, Mobile is right next door.
and it just happened in Mobile. Just happened in Mobile. And how quickly, my husband just told me today, the guy is back on desk duty now. So, and they're still protesting in Mobile. So if any of y'all want to go travel to Mobile and support the people, or if you would like me to research into what you can do from wherever you are to support the people of Mobile, Alabama, you can follow me on Twitter and tweet me.
If
That's a good place to start.
I'm gonna get your Twitter handle
Okay.
after the stream and put it in the description.
So, Yes, but there will be things happening. There's a lot of things in my head. I just have to sort it out because, yeah, there's a lot of things that have to happen all at once if we're going to break the system down the way it needs to be broken down. It just can't. It can't be one way. We can't just be considered as chattel. A lot of people say take the black dollar away from the economy and then they'll listen to us, but it can't just be that way because we've done that before. Our ancestors did that not too long ago, and they blew all of us up. So, y'all research that, Google that, I'm telling you. Black Wall Street, Google it. They did that. So, it's not something that we can take lightly and just go in at one section. White supremacy is it has pillars. There are different pillars that hold white supremacy up, and it has to be all attacked at one time. You don't just, that's why there's 3 to 4 of them, because you have to break down all of them, because the other ones are there to keep holding it up until the other one gets rebuilt. Hey, right about that.
Yes. And you know, I just want to mention briefly, it just happened in Mobile, and it's happened in Pensacola before.
It has.
Victor Steen, that was
my cousin.
2009.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
He was my cousin.
I'm so sorry.
And that did a lot for our family. And I don't know if I'm gonna start some drama saying this, but I mean, the city paid the family off, and that was it. That was it. It's we've had it happen. We have issues. We have people who have lived to talk about being shot at by the police. And it's not, like, Pensacola is not just a quiet, sleepy town that doesn't have these issues. And right now, I am very happy with Pensacola Police Department, I will not lie. They are making the changes and taking steps forward to talk to our community in Pensacola and making sure that, you know, if we're vocal, that they're going to have their things in place. The chief, he is an amazing person. We did the first black chief ever. And I always say that black people becoming part of the system, sometimes they get corrupted when they get in the system, because I don't trust politicians. But our chief of police is amazing. I will say that. I know that personally. But I'm worried about our sheriff's department. I see a lot of stuff come in and out of my job. And I hear a lot of things, and I've witnessed a lot of things just growing up in Pensacola, Florida, as a black girl. So, I mean, I'm worried about the climate. Like I said, I was anxious getting up this morning after hearing about the shooting in Dallas, because that's just another reason to kind of have a target on our backs. They know I'm vocal. I've written the sheriff letters. I have one that was an open letter, but I've written him letters. I don't know if he opened them, but they know how I feel. And my husband has even said that he's been worried sometimes driving. And he shouldn't have to feel that way. Freedom of speech means that I should be able to say how I feel. If you're getting my tax dollars because I am a hard worker, then you should listen to me. I mean, damn it, I'm a person. I'm sorry, okay.
No, don't be. I mean, like, that's one of the biggest things that needs to be said. I mean,
I'm a human.
The realization is not there in society. That is the entire problem.
I'm a citizen. I'm not this, I don't know, this made-up welfare queen that people have in their heads. Like, we are citizens. We deserve, even if we are collecting some welfare, we deserve to be treated like citizens of the United States. But we aren't. It's the reality.
That's the biggest thing to me that pisses me off the most, is just seeing how much it's like black people are not treated like human beings in our society. And it pisses me the fuck off. So I have. Let me see here. I've only got. I'm gonna kind of cut off questions at this point and just go through the couple that I have. Let me see here. This should be just a really quick answer. I feel like. Um, but Molly asks, do you feel that posting about Black Lives Matter is enough? I suppose for like someone who's not black to do.
It's a step. It's a step, I say, because it's like you've picked a side. And I think Catherine was the one who just said, if you are silent and you stay in the middle, you've already picked a side. Well, Martin Luther King said it, but Catherine said it better than that. It's a step, and I don't blame people who don't come out to any type of protest or rallies. I don't guilt people into attending anything. But I just hope that you would listen, because I feel like the work is really done in the white community. That's where the work has to be done. It has to be other white people going back to their family and friends and associates and saying, I won't stand for the injustices that are gone. Like, I won't stand for the microaggressions that you are doing, like walking up and touching another coworker's hair because it's fluffy without asking her first if you can touch her hair. Yes, I have this happen to me all the time. I had my hair in braids last week though, so nobody wanted to touch it. But I mean, yes, my hair is nice and magical, but it's dehumanizing to walk up and just touch someone, and if I swat your hand away, then you look at me crazy. Like, you can speak up and say, you can't do that. You can't just walk up and touch people's hair and explain why that's a microaggression. And they'd be like, oh, I really didn't look at it that way. But I think that posting Black Lives Matter is good, but just know that your white cousins are going to be saying some stuff.
You gotta address that.
So you have to address it. Like, be prepared.
I think it's a good start, but you really have to go further than that. So and then okay, so I think that's all the questions I have from the chat. So I have just a couple of questions left for you. I feel like there are probably definitely a lot of people who hop on the All Lives Matter bullshit not to intentionally be anti-black, but they don't realize why it is anti-black to hop on the All Lives Matter, because it is. Sorry, whether you want it to be or not, it is. And those people, there's a lot of people who are just ignorant. They don't want to be anti-black, but they're contributing to it. So, and really even reinforcing the ideas of themselves. What if you could say anything to like every single one of those people in the world? What would you say to them?
Coming right now and saying all lives matter when you see there's an epidemic, not just with police brutality, because if you research the Black Lives Matter organization, not the movement, because those are two separate things, but at the same time they're unified. If you research the organization, they work at more than just police brutality. With you saying all lives matter, the best thing I ever heard, I heard it today for the first time, is like someone breaking a bone and going to the doctor and saying, my, whatever bone this is, my hand bone is broke, and them saying, well, all your bones matter, so, and saying, well, I need you to fix this one though. That's basically what it is. Of course all my bones matter. I need all of them to function. But I need you to fix my hand at this moment. And that's what it is with America. Black lives are the freaking heart of America, if we can be honest. No, we're not the heart. We're the feet. We're the freaking mules. We are the ones that built this place. The heart of our natives. I love you. But we're the freaking mule. We're the ones who built this place, to be honest with you. And saying All Lives Matter is saying the feet that hold this country up, that built this country, that they don't matter. Even though they're broken right now. Until you can pay attention and you can decide that it's okay to center blackness just for a moment to fix something. That's all we're asking to do is just center blackness. Just for a little bit. And if that makes you uncomfortable, that's good. It needs to make you uncomfortable. That means that you have something you need to unpack. Something that you need to reach deeper into and deal with. All Lives Matter is just saying, we want you to shut up because all of us are going to die eventually. Even though you're dying at 12 or 17 or 32 or 47.
I'm going to point out for people, because you did get quiet for a second when you said it, but when you mentioned, when you said at first that black people are the heart of America, and then you changed and you said that they were the feet, you said that Native people, indigenous people, are the heart of America. And I'm going to take a moment to harp on my fellow natives here, because I have seen Native people, unfortunately, being anti-black, by saying, well, we face violence too, and we were here first, and all this other stuff. I am Native. We were here first. We are the heart of America, but here's the thing. We don't face the kind of violence that black people are facing right now. We don't. And one of the things I always hear is Native people acting as though Black Lives Matter somehow is reducing the importance of Native issues, because there still are Native issues.
There's many.
I
hear y'all. Native
people get shot by police, but the rate is still not anywhere near as bad as black people being shot by police. So it's one of those things where people are always like, oh, this is taking away from us. I have never run into a single Black Lives Matter activist who has tried to diminish or talk over the importance of the issues of other people of color who face race. And this is an example, because when we are here talking about Black lives, you took a moment to acknowledge Native lives. Even though you didn't have to for any reason, you took that moment to acknowledge it, and that is what I have seen consistently from you, especially, but from the From Pensacola protests and everyone. Every time Black Lives Matters comes up, and I've been there and seen the protests going on and the rallies going on, heard everything that is being said, black people seem very focused on fixing racism for everyone who faces it. It's not just going to... Supporting Black lives is not just going to solve the problems that black people face. It is going to help solve the problems that all people of color face on the basis of racism. I mean, Catherine has said several times that especially if you found a black disabled trans woman and solved all her problems, you just solved everyone's problems. And Black Lives Matter is focused on intersectionality, in my opinion. It's focused on the marginalized of the marginalized. It's focused on disabled black people, on black women, on trans black women, and then it's focused on Islamic black people. It's focused on every marginalized intersection which faces oppression that you can think of. And there's intersections there too, because there are black Native people. Mm-hmm. There are black Asian people. There are black Latinx people. So by supporting Black Lives Matter, we're supporting everyone. And I'm sorry, I don't want to take up too much time, but I just wanted to point out how important it is that little thing you said under your breath, that the Native people are the heart of America, and that you love Indigenous and Native people is so important, because that is a sentiment that I feel you will find reflected in the entire Black Lives Matter movement. And that sentiment will also be reflected for every other race which faces oppression in America. And I'm going to come and say, as a Native person, that when she says that Black people built this country as a Native person, yes, Black people built this country. It's unfortunate that white people stole this land from our people and killed our people, but the society that we have today, that even exists, all of the nice things that we have today, are because of the efforts of Black people and because of slavery and because of just all of the horrible things that Black people went through and all the greatness that has come from that, because Black is amazing. That's just, I'm sorry, I had to say that, and thank you for always being as intersectional as you are. So I've got just two other quick questions. It has seemed to me that there are a lot of white people who love weaponizing their image of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. against the Black Lives Matter movement and against Black people.
As I'm wearing this Malcolm X
If you're a Malcolm X shirt.
They are not separate, you guys. A lot of things that people weaponize against Black Lives Matter activists is weaponized against us from his earlier speeches. Honestly. Even things that are from the earlier speeches, they take parts of what it is and they turn it. It's kind of like Christians, you know. They take parts of the Bible and twist it so that, you know. They do that with our Black Jesus, Martin Luther King, apparently. Let's be honest, like, it's not okay. It's not okay at all to take someone that was a figure, someone that fought so hard, somebody that he did not die to help us all be equal. He died because he was killed by the U.S. government. Let's be real. That's how Martin Luther King was. Martin Luther King didn't have to die. He was killed. And the U.S. government paid his family for being at fault for killing him. Google it. It's not something that you need to do. He has said himself that he was worried about his people. He worried that he had taken us into a burning house. And we have had to carry that burden. Even though it looks like we have made so much progress, and I'm not going to lie, we have made so much progress in society. We see so many things that make me so happy every day to be a Black queer woman. But at the same time, I'm still scared for my life. And that's not okay, because it's undercover now. It's not blatant like it used to be. It's like the whole world is the North. Does that make sense? Like, Northerners are really not blatant. Like the whole
Yes. It makes sense. And I really, you know, I feel like you'll probably agree with me that white people who wanna use Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that way don't know shit about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
They only know what their little history books that had 2 pages.
They're whitewashed history books.
They're very whitewashed history books, because I heard that like African American history is like 5 pages or so now. Like,
don't they get like a month each year to Black history and like the other 11 to white history?
basically.
Sorry, one of those is Native American history, so the other 10 months, it's only 10 months of white history. But no joke, seriously.
No joke.
The textbooks that we have in schools are made to reinforce white supremacy. The version of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. you learned about in school as a white person is a version of him that was painted by white people to reinforce white supremacy. If I feel that anyone who thinks that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would be anywhere today aside from in the middle of the Black Lives Matter protests is fucking insane. So real quick, I think those are all the questions I have for you. I do have one last question, then we're gonna have to wrap up from the chat, which I'm only bringing up because it definitely it's something that we talk a lot about locally, but it needs to be spoken about everywhere because this is a huge problem. What suggestions do you have for anyone in any marginalized group who has to deal with anti-blackness in those spaces for their other marginalized identities, like anti-blackness in queer spaces, in women's movements? I love white feminism.
How to deal with it? That's the question.
Yep.
I find that sometimes it's very uncomfortable to have to deal with it. Now, are we talking about someone that is not black dealing with it, or someone that is black having to deal with it? Because I'm going to give y'all two totally different.
Give them both.
Okay. For someone who is not black, dealing with anti-blackness in spaces that are, let's just say they're whitewashed, those spaces, it would be helpful for you to speak up and say, you know, that's not making it very inclusive for the other members here. It's like in queer spaces sometimes I am called divisive because because I do bring up race. And then it's the gays versus the blacks, and how come the blacks get all of this? And first of all, we're not the blacks. We ain't the gays. It's gay folks, it's black folks. And then we black and gay folks over here. So if you are non-black and you are coming into this space and you see this happening, just break it to them. Hey, that's not very inclusive of the people that we want to be a part of this, or people that are here. Like you're gonna run away people that are really important to this, and people that are actually going to help us. If you black, you just say, listen, bruh, this is what we not finna do. Okay, I'm just kidding, y'all. Please don't do that. Like, don't be me, because they don't like me some places now. I really do want you, I want us to learn to stand up for ourselves even though it's exhausting. I'm proud of you if you do. If you don't, then I understand, because it's exhausting just to hear it. Especially to hear it people that you feel like are supposed to be your friends, people that include you into their spaces, and then to all of a sudden feel like you're the token. Or that they just included you into those spaces because they needed a token so that they can look diverse. I want you to stand up for yourself. I want you to speak up if you're able to. If you hear, well, you know, I wouldn't be comfortable having this event at this place because, well, you know, and you know that that area is where a bunch of your cousins live, then you speak up and you say, you mean it's black. That's not how that works. I grew up in that area. It's not like that. It would be a perfect area for us to have, and if we have it there, we'll be able to reach out to more people that need to be a part of this space. And you give it to them straight. Do not coddle your homies. Don't do it. Don't coddle them. Love them, but love them hard. You don't have to cuss them out like I probably would, because I just get exhausted. I do this every day, y'all, if I could be honest. Like, it's an everyday thing. People ask me how to deal with things, or, you know, so I might get exhausted. I might cuss some people out that I love. They know I love them, and it's in love that I'm doing this. But just be straight with people, be honest with people, because once they see that what they're doing is prejudice and it's anti-black, then most likely they're going to want to change it. But if they argue about it, then at that point you step back because you need to be taking care of yourself. This is for black folks. Non-black folks, keep going. Go in. Go in on their asses if they try to argue with you about how it's not anti-black what they say. First of all, they don't get to decide what's anti-black. But don't go ask your token friend because sometimes the token friends can be Stacey Dashes. But go in. If they're being I can't even say, if they're just being anti-black to the point where it's irritating the shit out of you, and they're like, no, that's not being racist, that's not being prejudiced. I'm just saying that one time my homeboy got robbed when he was over there at this place. Say, well, you should have just said that. You didn't have to say, well, this area is kind of black. That's what you was trying to say. Don't use coded language with me. Non-black folks, go in on them. If they being anti-black in spaces that you're trying to organize, in spaces that you're trying to be in, and you have the privilege to step up and tell people, nah, this ain't gonna float, do it. That's how you be an ally.
I'm gonna say when you are a non-black person and you reach that point where it's like, you're going in, you're not getting through, you want to give up. I cut those people out of my life at that point.
You're gonna have to.
If you're not gonna get through, then you're not gonna get through. But there's no reason to keep those people in your life. You don't need them there at all. And I feel I like when you said you don't have to cuss them out. It's true, but you do have to call them out. You can't just let things like that slide. I feel like that's one of the most important things that people overlook as an ally to any group, is that you can't just not speak up. Ideally, if there's someone who's there that's a member of that minority who's not exhausted already, you should raise their voice. But if they are exhausted, or if they're not there to defend themselves, then you need to be the person to speak up. And let me see here. There was one other thing. I can't remember it. I mean, it's fine. This is for what you have to say anyway. Just try to help when I can. To reinforce things, but let me see here. Someone said dragging is a must.
Yes.
Scalping them with love is my favorite thing.
Is that like snatching edges with care?
That might.
Is that scalping with
I
love?
don't know.
Snatch them with
I've
care?
never actually scalped anyone.
Might need to look into it.
I thought about it. But okay. Oh! I think I remember what it was now. Yes. Intersectionality. I feel like it's really important in those situations where you're with, because the question is specifically about in group, like other marginalized spaces, to remind those people that if you're in a gay space, okay, some gay people are black, so you can't be anti-black about this. You have to support black people in order to support gay people. That's one of my favorite things. You can't support women without supporting black women, because black women are women.
Exactly.
You can't support gay people without supporting black people, because some black people are gay, some gay people are black. So intersectionality, I feel, is really the solution for everything.
It really is. Like, I considered myself a womanist because I needed the space to be amongst other black women in my form of feminism, I should say. But I'm a big, huge believer in intersectional feminism. Anybody can be an intersectional feminist. Anybody. You just have to practice it. Make it a part of your everyday life. Make sure you are being conscious of those decisions that you make when you say certain stuff. And some people are like, oh, it's so PC. Everybody's so emotional about everything now, and it's not what it is. It's not that they're emotional, it's that we ain't like the ancestors. We talk. We will tell you when it makes us uncomfortable. They did it because, they couldn't.
And you might get called a social justice warrior if you get intersectional.
I don't understand why that's a bad thing.
It's like that.
I still don't know why that's a bad thing.
Because I mean, I'm gonna be honest. There was a time when I first started seeing social justice warrior stuff on Tumblr, and I was like,
yeah.
And but then I realized over time it was just it's all the ingrained hatreds that I've been taught that are making me feel that way. Like when BuzzFeed first started to get more social justice-y, I was like, oh god, it's spreading. But then eventually over time it's I started looking and learning and seeing all the things that were going on, and it was like I took the red pill or something, and all of a sudden it's oh my god.
And when you wake,
these people are right.
When you wake, you can never go back to sleep. It's like when you open your eyes to the truth and the light, and you just constantly keep learning.
So people try to argue about this shit, and I'm just I'm coming from where you're saying right now. I was there one time.
Yeah.
And trust me,
and
you're wrong.
Do that. I do. I have to. Sometimes I do step back, and I'm a pretty non-emotional person. I feel a lot. I'm an empath, but I don't go about things in the manner of I just act off my emotions. I think everything through. So it always pisses me off when people are like, you're just saying this because you're social justice warrior, you're just emotional about these things happening. It's no, I read you. You do it too. I don't give y'all nothing without telling you can Google this, and I'm right, because I don't talk about things I don't know about. And when I talk about black stuff, it's because black is all I know. It's what I've been my whole life.
Yes. All right. So you keep getting questions. I told y'all.
I'm glad y'all are enjoying.
This is true. This is true. I'm really glad to see the engagement we're getting. I just don't want to keep Haley too long. This room is actually kind of hot. Of course it is. We're both in here. But anyway, I'm gonna take these last two questions, and then after that, I just want to give you another minute to just say anything else that you want to say. So real quick, what do you feel is the best way to deal with anti-black, non-black people of color? So for anyone who was just confused out there by that, dealing with anti-black Latinx or Asian, or Middle Eastern or Native people.
I feel it's important to remind them that this is kind of two parts, only because when you talk about non-black people of color, there are some that fit into white supremacy because they're passing, and then there are those that don't. The ones that are angry with black people because they feel like we take up too much space because of the visibility that we tend to have sometimes in the media and everything. Because they don't feel like their needs are being met because it's like the abusive dad is paying too much attention to black folks. That's really what it is. And we're not the enemies. We want to fight on your behalf, but we don't want you to co-opt what we're doing to get your point across, but we will support you in whatever you do. And it's important to not expect us to do the work for you because we can't speak for you. We've never lived your type of life. So I think it's important to remind those type of people of color that we're not the enemies. White supremacy is the enemy. Not white people, white supremacy is the enemy. And that's who their focus and anger should be on. Not on black people just because they might be visible. Because you don't want the visibility that we have. It comes with a lot. When I say a lot, I mean people in your inbox constantly telling you you don't belong. A lot. as far as the ones who fit into white supremacy, you gotta treat them like white folks sometimes because they're passing. They got white privilege, basically. You just have to give it to them straight. Listen, I understand that you might not completely understand this because you're not in the shoes, but here's some reading material. Maybe you should read a few of these links. That's the only way you could possibly probably get through to them, because most of the time they're just being willfully ignorant and don't want to be able to see what's really going on. They just want to be able to say, well, black people are whiny. Like, all of them are whiny. All of them are poor. All of them are just out protesting thugs, and what about black on black crime? Like, all you can do to fight those things is fight with facts. Black on black crime is not a thing. White on white crime is not a thing. So black on black crime can't be a thing. It's just not. You have to treat them like white folks sometimes. That's all I can really say about that. That's all I can think of.
Showing those double standards is really kind of helpful. And I mean, just again, the intersectionality. It's like the proof is in the pudding, and you can call I feel like you can call attention to that. I mean, Haley is cis, but Haley shows up for every trans thing that exists. You know, Haley is black, and even at Black Lives Matters movement has made sure that mention is given to the violence that affects groups of other people of color, and you know, if there was anything that happened around here that had to do with the Asian community or with the Latinx community or with the Native community or any community which is marginalized, Haley would be there, because we are intersectional. As much as we can be. A lot of activists in Pensacola, we show for each other. And that's one of the biggest things that I feel any marginalized group can do and should do, because we are all in this together, and we need to show for each other. What about, let me see this question before I read it out loud real quick. I gotta figure out if it's a good question. I feel like someone just kind of asking about like a strategy that they feel they have, probably like an evaluation of it. What do you feel about asking racist family members questions about why they think that way? Like, I guess, like, you know, why do you feel that way about, why do you say that about black people? As opposed to
just giving them
information.
I think that's a great like plan. That's a great thing to do, because a lot of times when sometimes you have to examine your own whiteness. If I can be honest, like a lot of times when black folks have the space, and we don't get space a lot. Not as much as we need to break down the barriers that we have going on in the world against us, then it's like that's when whiteness tries to be centered. But if you're centering whiteness with your family, and it's totally y'all time to really break this down, I think it's important to ask them, why do they feel the way that they do, and then point out to them the fallacies in the way that they believe, because I can guarantee you that the prejudice, once you show that mirror to them, that they're going to really think twice and think hard about what it is that they were thinking in the first place. I guarantee it. I do it all the time with people that think differently about my trans siblings. All the time. When I have to. Not like I want y'all to, but I'm just saying, like, it's a good attack. Like, so why do you think that? Well, I knew this one person. Okay, you knew them in 5th grade, so explain. Like, do you know anybody else? Have you reached out, talked to anybody? Do you understand these people are human like you? By then they're like, oh shit, you right. I know I am. Now you're gonna be nice and come to this rally with me. Like, that's just be a decent ass human being. That's all.
I think that's actually really really good because especially the anti-blackness, like you get down there and people are like, people want to see, they're like, oh well that's just the way black people are all the time with all this bullshit. And it's like, really, But I feel like at the same time, a lot of people who basically get down to that logic aren't aware that that's the fallacy that they're operating on. So if you can drag that out of them and make them realize that they are literally just operating on a stereotype that's not backed up by any proof and is easily refuted,
You have to chip away at that little wall they got there. Y'all gotta do that. I can't do it.
Yeah, don't
I just take a damn
do
sledgehammer. Boom! All that shit come shattered down. They don't want to be around about
it. You're good with sledgehammers. I think you give Peter Gabriel a run for his money. Okay, and then just before we go, I want you to give you one more opportunity to say whatever you want to say as a black woman to everyone.
I first want to tell black folks that are watching that I love you. I love you. I don't care. I have been using hashtag all Black Lives Matter because I really do believe in every single black person matters, regardless of their past, of their present, of their future, regardless of their lifestyle. It does not matter. Like, all of us matter. All of us are human. All of us are facing this thing. We cannot rub the skin off. And I love y'all. And y'all stay resilient. And as much as I talk about the ancestors, me and the ancestors got y'all. But it's just, and to everybody that considers themselves as supporters, thank you. Y'all really do. I really have, in the last 3 years of me doing a lot more advocacy and activism in the community, I've seen the step up from a lot of people that don't have to step up, and I think it's so important. It really is. And I want y'all to understand, those that come in with the well, not all white people thing. I just want y'all to understand that if you have to say that, 9 times out of 10 you fit that criteria, and it's bothering you, and you need to unpack it and then come back to that space. Because you'll realize that if you fit into that mold, or you have people that are close to you that fit into that mold, and you can break them out of that, it can do wonders for our society. It takes everybody, it takes every white person to break down white supremacy. It really will. Because we can't, Black Lives Matter really ain't going to change people's hearts for the most part. From what I've been seeing, the only thing that's been changing people's hearts a little bit is these freaking videos. And as much as I hate seeing them, and as much as I feel like it might desensitize people, for some people, it's the only thing is shoving them in their fucking face to say, hey, look, would you let this happen to your damn child? So, for those who need that wake-up call, but they receive that wake-up call, and they decide, I'm going to stand on the side that says we have to fix this, thank you. And keep on. Don't just sit at home and internalize it for yourself. If you can, reach out to other people, other white folks, other non-black people of color, and explain why Black Lives Matter too. We're not trying to be on a pedestal. We're not trying to be higher than anybody. We do not want to change the new management sign on white supremacy. We just want to be equal with everybody. And we want to be able to get justice if officers are just offing us or killing us while we're in their custody, running up and just killing us, and we're not getting justice. That's all we want. We want to be humans. We want to be able to go out and get jobs without people constantly looking for reasons not to hire us. have resumes that exceed anybody else's that could have came in. We want people not to actually assume that they're supposed to be getting a scholarship to a college over us just because we're black. We just want to be human. We just want people to not have to feel like we have to argue for our own humanity, because it's exhausting and it can make you mentally break and it can burn you out, and it has burned out a lot of us. So, Black Lives Matter, y'all. Black Panthers wasn't a racist organization.
So many people need to hear that.
No, seriously, Google it. They started WIC and subsidized food and the schools. The U.S. government took it over and implemented it.
Look up just, I mean, even a lot of this, all the stuff Huey P. Newton had to say. I mean, like, I look up to that man so much. He was such an intersectionalist before there was even a word for intersectionalism. You know, he spoke out against homophobia and misogyny in black spaces. He was ready to fight all of the battles for marginalized people that needed to be fought.
Yes. It's allowing black people to have their safe spaces and not saying, well, you have to let me be a part of your safe space because I have to be included in everything. Like, when the Panthers were active, the Panthers had their space, and then they were able to go out and be in space with other organizers of all other ethnicities and races, and it was beautiful at that moment. But white supremacy wasn't having it. At the end of the day, they just weren't having it. And I think that that's important for us now. You see how diverse the protesters are at these Black Lives Matter protests. And as long as we can keep going, and as much as I don't condone violence, but I do condone a revolution, and I don't know how this revolution is going to happen, but I feel like it's already happening. So, Black Lives Matter, y'all. All black, y'all. All black, y'all. Oh, y'all got to see the video of my baby. Have you seen the video?
No.
Of my three?
We're gonna go watch it in a minute.
My 1-year-old singing, "I'm black, y'all. I'm black, y'all."
That's beautiful.
Yes, y'all. I'm very pro-black. That's because I was taught anti-blackness in my core at the beginning of my life, and I was taught that there was something wrong with me being dark skinned. I was taught that my kinky hair wasn't supposed to be accepted. I was taught that wearing anything that could classify as ratchet or whatnot, or anything that's African American vernacular was wrong, and I shouldn't have taken part in it. But here I am, and some people might not like me, but I feel like I do enough for everybody, and I try to at least.
I love you, Haley, and you do more than enough for everyone.
I love you too.
Alright, so I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who's come to watch this and everyone who will watch this afterwards. This had one of the best turnouts of a live stream event that I've ever had, and I'm glad because this is fucking important. If you haven't already, be sure to go back and watch the video I put out earlier today where I talk. I kind of say my piece on everything and then get out of the way for the people who are going to be speaking over the next few days. Because of the fact that Black Lives Matter, and it's the black voices which need to be heard. But people, I mean, it's just because of all the marginalization, so often black people don't have the platform, and people aren't as willing to listen to black people until someone who's not black tells them to, which is fucking aggravating as hell. It's like us with you know, we need a cis person to hand us the microphone half the time, but you know, so we need to do that, and that's what this whole event is about. So Haley came up with the hashtag YouTube Blackout. this morning for a project we're going to be doing this week, where each day I will have a Black person who I know and love come to use my platform to say what they need to say. Just because I feel like it's the only decent thing that someone with the privilege of not being Black and the privilege of having a YouTube platform can do. I mean, I definitely I earned the YouTube platform, but the privilege of not being Black has helped me get there. And I've still had the barrier of being trans and Latinx in the way, but I mean, I'm just gonna say, it's layers and all your sex. But like, if I was Black and trans, I would not have the platform that I have right now. It would not be as much of a platform. But the only decent human thing I feel that someone with the privilege of not being Black and the privilege of having a platform like a YouTube channel can do is to give that channel, to give that platform to the Black voices that need to be uplifted. And I'm going to be absolutely crystal clear, just like I was in the video earlier. This is not something that I or anyone else who chooses to participate in it, who's a non-Black person providing a platform, deserves a pat on the back or credit or any kind of, anything like that for, because we should not be living in a society where giving Black voices a chance to be heard is seen as a good thing or a thing that people should be grateful for or anything or a praiseworthy thing. It should be seen as just the decent thing to do, because it really is. So what we're calling all other non-Black YouTubers to do over the course of this week is to do to give your platform for even just one day to the Black people in your life and let them say what they need to say, because shit is just fucking terrible right now. And I don't know about you, but I'm sick of seeing it. And the only way we're going to change that is for Black people's voices to be heard and taken seriously. And sadly, that is more likely to happen when we as non-Black people tell other non-Black people to listen and give them our space to speak, where they will be heard by more than just other Black people. And so the main day that we're aiming to do this is this upcoming Thursday, July 15th at 6 p.m. Central Time, although ideally all day, and like all leading up to that, to do this and to hand over that platform. So please do share this video so that Haley's voice can be heard by more people, with the hashtag YouTube Blackout and the message of what we're doing, and that we are going to make this happen, because these voices need to be heard. And we've had blackouts on Tumblr, which are beautiful, beautiful days, if I may say so. And we need a blackout on YouTube. We need a blackout on all social media until the Black voices are heard and until change happens, because this is just. It's fucking ridiculous. It is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And Haley, I want to thank you so much for coming and talking today, and for everything you've had to say, and really just for everything that you do in all of the communities around here, because I'm gonna come out and say, I've been given like credit and titles for my activism work by various people. I don't deserve those anywhere near as much as you do, in my opinion. And you are the epitome of queer Black girl magic, and I love the fact that you exist. So thank you for existing and being here, and thank you everyone, as always, so very much for watching. Until next time, be yourself. I actually do have to stop the stream. So give me just a second. And it's gorgeous.
My Malcolm X shirt was made by my ex-boyfriend, Terry. If you want one, reach out to me on Twitter so I can let you know.
We'll put the link for that in the description too.
Yes.
Alright. So I'm gonna give it like just a second, I guess, to catch up, and then I can clip anything off in.
Bye.
Be yourself. Bye.